Greetings, class. Welcome to a session here for TESOL Methods here at Nyack College. We're going to be talking about our textbook today. You see that? Yeah. We're going to be talking about our textbook today, which is Brown's textbook Teaching by Principles. It's an interactive approach to language pedagogy. I think it's a fairly well-rounded textbook for getting a foundation for TESOL methodology, and so we're going to be covering at least the beginnings of that today. We're also going to look a little bit about this particular course, and then we're going to be getting into some of the projects that you're going to be talking about later. First thing that I wanted to talk about to you all is for you to think about who your favorite teacher was. To think about why was that person your favorite teacher. Now, I do remember some teachers that I thought I liked because they were very funny. I had a professor in high school. His name was Mr. Dumb. That was his last name, Dumb, and he was hysterical. He was also very good at his job. He was a good teacher as well. I had other teachers that I do recall, again, probably for their depth of knowledge and insight. But my favorite teacher, the teacher I remember more than any, was my Spanish teacher. And I appreciated my Spanish teacher because not only was he very motivational, but he used a variety of methods for language teaching, and I was studying Spanish. But he had a whole bunch of different ways to motivate people. He had things that he would put on the board for a competition. Somebody write a poem or write a story. He would hand out money. He would hand out gifts. He would hand out points, credit, extra grade credit for things that you would do. He had all this, plethora of ways in which he would encourage people. And he also, obviously, he knew the language. He knew his content, but he also knew his trade. He knew how to teach, how to get people motivated. So he was an excellent language teacher, and he was my favorite. Now, I'd like you to talk about on the boards, who was your favorite teacher and why? Okay, and what caused him to be, or she caused him to be your favorite language teacher? It's important for us to begin to look back, to analyze, and that's really what this whole chapter is about analyzing, observing what's going on. In my opinion, one of the greatest strengths that a teacher has is their ability to observe what's going on. Not to get emotional, you can get emotional later, but to sit back and observe what's going on, to be able to analyze what was good, what was bad, how to make things better. And that's really what this actual chapter is about. This book here that we're going to be using, again, it's about 26 chapters long. There are a variety of things that he's going to be covering, from the more generic philosophical foundations to actually teaching the 4 skills and 2 databases. Some things about it that I don't necessarily agree with, and so we'll be deviating from there. I'll be adding other information. But primarily, Brown has done a very good job for setting up the basics for TESOL methodology in this text, and this is the book that we'll be using throughout the course. If you do have questions, please bear in mind that you can put them on the boards. You can contact me via email, and you can contact me via Skype. I will be on campus at least 2 days a week, and they will probably be at the beginning of the week that I would be there. So again, if you do have questions, kindly give me a call, put them on the boards, or send me an email or Skype. This particular course originally was a face-to-face course, as is typical for most online courses. It's now an online course. However, if you are on campus, I will be glad to sit down and work with you in any of the chapters that we're going through, any of the projects that you'll be developing. So it is an online course, but for some people who have difficulty, I will be glad to do this lesson again for you in a face-to-face environment. So please do not feel threatened by being in an online environment. You want to get a hold of me, you can. If you're not nearby, if you're not on campus, we can certainly communicate via Skype and other digital forms. But the class is an online course. This course is an online course, and as such, most of the work that we're going to be doing is online. I do hope to meet with you all at least once a week in a live session, so again, that we can have better communication, better support for what's going on. TESOL is a tremendous field. It allows you to go to many different places throughout the globe. It also allows you to go places that other opportunities, other occupations may not allow you to. It's also obviously useful throughout the United States. TESOL is an excellent tool, an excellent vocation for you to be involved in. I'm very glad that I'm in it. I've been teaching for almost 20 years now, and I've been teaching here in the States as well as overseas. And so I do enjoy the field. Linguistics and education, definitely a fun place to be. So for this classroom, we're going to be using this interface here. We're going to be using bulletin boards. We're going to be using exams. You're going to be uploading projects. And we'll be using things like Skype and email. If you do not have a Skype account, I do recommend that you get one. Please note that my Skype ID will be on the top of the syllabus so that you can access me from there. But I want to be accessible to you. Please don't worry about time of day. If I am near a computer, which I often am, I'll be able to communicate with you. So please don't feel bad about that. Okay, let's move on to the textbook. The first chapter that we looked at, and I do hope that before you actually review this, you've actually read this first chapter, which is primarily showing you an observation. And in this observation, you are looking at a teacher in a classroom. Eventually, you'll be doing observations. So eventually, you're going to need to sit down and observe a classroom. So in this chapter, you've observed a teacher who's going through basically one classroom. And there are a variety of activities in her lesson plan that she has done. Some of them don't even look like activities, but they actually are. So for example, when she does attendance, she does something rather interesting when she's doing attendance. She's talking with her students as she's doing it. Okay, why does she do that? It's a question that you could be asking. But my point is, she's doing a lot of things in class, and everything should be planned out. Your job as an observer, of course, is to identify all these things that she's doing and keep a notice as to why she's doing it. What's the purpose for her doing the activities that she's in? Also note that there are a variety of transitions in the class. Transitions are important because they signal to students when something's beginning, when something's ending, when things are going well, right? When things aren't going well, and when things are cut abruptly or not. And so you should be able to identify where those transitions are. It would be nice if transitions one slid into another. Doesn't always happen that way, and in a live situation there are times where you may try an activity. Hey, I'm going to try to do this thing, and it falls flat on its face because of the audience, because of the material, for any number of reasons. But a good transition is going to help a student prepare in one area and slide them into the next area, taking with them the materials, the ideas, the concepts that they took from the previous lesson. Right? And so they can be a help or they can be a hindrance, depending on what's happening in the classroom. Again, let me repeat, if you're doing an observation, you're just simply taking notes as to this is what happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. And for you as a teacher, or as an observer, you're going to want to observe, and then later on in an observation, you can talk about how the students reacted, and how you feel, how you think something was. But when you're doing an observation type of report, you want to begin by simply describing the facts, devoid of criticism or emotion, so that people can get a clear picture as to what's happening. Later on, you can describe more feelings, emotions, perceptions. Okay? So, anyway, how did these things contribute to the class, right? How did she use questions in the classroom? Did she use them to her advantage? Did she use them for things like clarification, or was she leading students on into an activity, or were they open-ended questions where she didn't know the answer necessarily? And what types of things are happening with questions? How is a teacher using questions to further her agenda in the classroom, to complete her objectives that she has for the classrooms? Please note that she also broke students up into groups. And what size groups are good and or bad. What happens if you're forced to have a large classroom or a small classroom? What are the advantages of putting students into pairs or into groups of 4 or 3? Excuse me. There are a lot of things that you'll want to go on and see there. Lastly, what's the significance of an observation? Why is looking at this important? Iron sharpens iron would be the simple answer. You can learn from other people. You can learn from their successes and from their mistakes. You can look at how somebody does something and say, "Oh, I like that idea." And you can, I would say, you can steal that idea. In my opinion, when you're observing a class and someone's doing something that's effective, that's successful, by all means, steal that and appropriate it into your teaching toolbox and use it in your classes. I would do that all the time. It's one of the reasons why I like observing, because I'll watch how a teacher does something and say, "Oh, that's effective. I'm going to use that idea, that method in my class." So it's very good for that. It's also good not only for you to learn, but in the event that this person needs some clarification in an area, or they feel unsure, or you can help them. You can help them become a better teacher by getting them to observe things, getting them to notice things that they didn't see, to make their classes better. So it shouldn't be a threatening thing. It shouldn't be, I'm going to bash you over the head, but it's more of I'm going to help you, you're going to help me. Iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. That's right out of the book of Proverbs. And so we should be able to do that, and it's an excellent opportunity to sharpen one another by doing observations. All right. For homework, I want you to read the next chapter, and I want you to go find a class. Go find a class that you can observe. Go talk to, go sit in ask for permission, go sit in the back of the class. If you have an ESL class that you're allowed to sit in that class. Go sit in the class and just observe what happens. What does the teacher do? And, try to describe what they do in detail. As in this chapter, you saw many things that were being, this happened, and then the teacher did this, and then and the student said this, and, put in all those details, and then you can critique them. What was good, what was bad. Make sure that you're separating the two. That'll be for this week also. We're doing 2 chapters this week. And also you should note that, as we mentioned before when we looked at the syllabus, you do have a research paper that you're going to be doing. You're going to be having a thematic unit that you'll need to be creating. A thematic unit, again, is a series of lessons all around a particular theme that you will be introducing to your students. It should be about 4 or 6 lessons in that unit. It's on a particular theme. You'll have to select the theme. That also means that you'll need to select your audience. You're going to need to select your classroom. How old are your students? How proficient are your students? What are their interests and curiosities? And based on that, you'll be able to develop a unit. I had a student, I think a year ago, who decided that he was going to be teaching English to students who were wilderness explorers, and they wanted to do work outside in the woods. And so all these lessons had to do with being outside and wilderness experience. The vocabulary was geared toward that. Obviously, the grammar was going to be geared toward their proficiency level and a step or two higher, but it was very interesting to see. I'd never thought about teaching English that way. You'll need to find a theme that you're going to need to be developing. You're also going to research some project, research some area, some method that we may not cover. And consider using it for a particular audience or a generic audience. You may have a background with, Guatemalan students, and you want to do work with them, or you may come from, a Serbian background, and you want to work with Serbian students, and so what method that you might want to do with them. So a variety of options that are available to you. You should find out, you should decide which ones that you want, and then begin thinking about a research project. The research project and the thematic unit, obviously you're going to be developing later on as we go through more of the chapter, but you should start thinking about these. There are a variety of topics that I've listed in the syllabus that you can look at, but if you have any others, please let me know, and I'll be glad to help walk you through that, okay? Thank you all for this particular chapter, and I do hope to see you later on in the week. Have a nice day, and again, if you have questions, let me know. Talk to you later. Bye-bye now.